So, learn how to be a superstar. That's quite a title. And it's probably not going to be exactly how you think. I am, at the moment, an agent, for want of a better word. I work for a company called First Act Workshops, and I work with young people, and I get young people into theatre projects, into film, and into television. And I've been doing that for a long time. I used to work for a company called the Central Junior Television Workshop. I'm just going to move this on a second and you'll see this video, the Central Broadcasting House. And this is where it all started about 30 years ago. It's 30 now. There was a workshop in Birmingham set up by a man called Lewis Rudd, who worked for Central Television. And it was about finding a pool of young actors that they could use for their producers, their in-house producers, when they needed to develop different programs. And very quickly, that developed into channels like the BBC and Channel 4 coming in to use that resource. And it has grown and grown. And what you'll see are people, as it gets along, that's Alison Hammond, you may recognize her. She was on Big Brother and Celebrity, and she presents this morning. You'll see a few faces along the way that you might recognize, and these are all Birmingham people. And I've been working for them for quite some time. Now, Hattie did say something. Hattie gave you a fact about me, which is probably my most embarrassing fact, which is that I was the support act for Ronan Keating on his first tour. Move out of the way of this a little bit. And I'm going to tell you a tiny bit about me, and hopefully it won't come across as self-indulgent. It's actually, there's a point, and you'll see why I'm not showing off in a moment. Because my history with these people, and then what I'm about to tell you about myself, is why I will have some good advice for those of you who might want a career in acting or music. I'll leave dancing to Omari, who just did a speech. He was wonderful. So, what I did, when I was 17, I had a huge record deal with Polydor, and that's why I was on this tour with Ronan Keating. And it was all going fantastically well. I was on the television, I was on MTV, I made a music video, I was on tour. And I was thinking, this is fantastic, my life is going to be brilliant. I'm going to be rich and famous and all those things. And the song was called Bombshell. You won't have heard it. The reason why you won't have heard it is because Bombshell's release date was September the 11th, 2001, which is the day Al-Qaeda decided to bomb New York and the Pentagon and Pennsylvania and all of those other places. So it was disastrous. And immediately the record company went, we can't touch you, we can't do anything with you, I'm sorry, that's it. So that's my first career gone in the entertainment industry by the time I was about 22. So suddenly I'd left education to go into this career, and so I had no job, no higher education, and I'm thinking, what do I do? Well, I was in this thing. I was in the television workshop for all those years. I'll act then. And I was very fortunate to get a few parts in some touring productions, and I was acting for 3 years. And what I found when I got to the end of those 3 years was that I was coming back from tours, and I actually owed people money, because to survive on the wages that you get paid if you're not a famous actor is a very, very hard thing to do. So it got to the end of 3 years, and I thought, you know what? I actually have to give this up now, otherwise I'm not going to be able to survive. So what was that? I was about 26, another career, gone. No education, what am I going to do? And then, fortunately, the guy who ran the Birmingham branch of the television workshop said to me, why don't you come in and teach? I think you're good enough to teach, I'll train you up. And thank goodness he did. And I spent quite a few years then as a play director and a session leader here at the television workshop. And that experience was wonderful for me. However, then the credit crunch hit. And the funding for the television workshop wasn't big enough to support 2 workshops. So the Nottingham one continues today. The Birmingham one, unfortunately, had to close. So before I hit 30, that's 3 careers in the entertainment industry gone. And this is kind of the point of what I want to tell you today about learning to be a superstar. If you're going to do it, then you need to prepare, because it's not like it was even 5 years ago. It's certainly not like it was 10 years ago when I was in the record deal. There was actually a hell of a lot more chances back then. So here we have, this is the television workshop picking up a BAFTA for services to children's television, and then this one will end. That's Ian, who runs the Nottingham workshop, and Colin, who did used to run the Birmingham workshop, and that was presented there by Sarah Smart, who is a television actress who some of you may recognize. And what I did when the television workshop stopped was I thought, if this will work, there we go, I can set up a workshop and I can make it work. And this is first act workshops. And we basically continue to do the things that the television workshop did. So we do outdoor theatre, improvisation shows, radio plays, we make our own films, we raise money for charity through our drama work, we do stage shows, we even do the skills show. This was the opening ceremony last year, and that's Anna presenting last year. And this year we have Hattie, who is one of First Act Workshops, and various other presenters are from the workshop tonight. We also do casting still, so this is Kia Pegg with Helena Bonham Carter in a film called Toast. This is Children of the Titanic, Tia Pegg in Channel 4's Hooked. This is Sam in Nativity 2, and this is Helen in a new Channel 4 program called Raised by Wolves. These are just examples. And the reason I'm showing you this is to say, these are my experiences. I have that personal experience, and then I have these guys' stories to tell you about learning to be a superstar. And the most important story that I'm going to tell you is this one. So you might recognize this fella. He was not a workshopper. This is Russell Crowe, and this is the movie Robin Hood. Now, I'll take you back a little bit further. A couple of years before this movie was made, there was another movie called The Wizard's Apprentice, which I think then turned into The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Do you know it? I think it's Nicolas Cage, isn't it? Because I never watched it. Yeah, The Sorcerer's Apprentice. And the producers came to the workshop to cast a young lad in this film. And they liked a guy called Ed, who I worked with a lot. And he went for loads of recalls. He went to London. They filmed him a few times, did a few screen tests. And he got right to the end. And I think he was down to the last 3, and then he didn't get the part, which was, of course, very sad for him. Forward on a few years, and out of the blue, I get a phone call. Hi, Ross, it's Ridley Scott's office here. We're making Robin Hood, and we're looking at this DVD of Ed. And I'm like, wow, how did you get the DVD of Ed? And some casting director had passed it to somebody else, and suddenly they've got Ed. And they say, can we see him, please, for Robin Hood? Sure, of course you can. I'll tell you what, I'll send a few of my other lads his age as well, just in case he doesn't suit. Fabulous. So Ed trundles off to London, and as soon as he walks in, Ridley Scott's team look at him and they're like, oh, actually, you're not the person you were anymore 3 years ago. You're not going to suit this part. But you, other fella who's walked in, who was one of mine, Tom, yes, you're good. Come for a recall audition. Come for a screen test. Come and do this, come and do that. And after probably a month's worth of auditions, he was offered the role. And it was quite a big speaking role in Robin Hood. They showed us a financial package, and they showed us a schedule of when he was going to be filming. I was over the moon, absolutely over the moon, that this was going to be happening to someone in the workshop. Tom said no thank you, and I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified, and I couldn't understand it. And when he next came into the workshop, I pulled him aside and I said, can you talk me through this decision of yours, please? And he did. And this is what he said, and this is the thing that I desperately want to communicate to you lot today. Tom said, Ross, I'm right at the end of the first year of sixth form. I've got a plan to be an architect. I'm going on to do this degree. If I take this and do these dates, that would mean redoing both years of sixth form and delaying my whole plan. And he said, yes, this is a fantastic opportunity. However, how do I know that this relatively small character in this film will end up in this film? You've told me before, he was talking to me, that smaller characters can easily get cut and end up in the cutting room floor in the edit suite, easily. So first of all, how do I know I'm going to be in it at the end of the day? Yes, it's a nice little amount of money for me, but it's not going to sustain me for that year that I've missed in education. It's not going to be like a job for me in that period of time. There's no guarantee that I will get an agent after this. And although if it works, I will be seen, there's no guarantee I'll ever get another part. And I said, okay. And it shocked me, because that's not the experience I had. I ran away from education as soon as I got an opportunity. Tom properly looked at it and said, no, this isn't a clever thing to do. I can be an actor at any other point in my life. But at this point in my life, as long as I get this stuff done, if I get my architecture degree, then I can do that for the rest of my life and always try to get more of these opportunities. It was a really big moment for me to be told this by a 17-year-old, because He did the opposite of what I did, and he's just graduated. And now he's looking into acting opportunities. And I think, actually, that that was a very brave and very wise decision. I'll show you another example. This young lady is called Yasmin. And Yasmin, you might have seen, if you were watching carefully, a little clip of a little girl in kind of a horror film in that little video I showed you before. That was Yasmin. She was in a film called Fragile with Callista Flockhart, and the older ones amongst you will know her as Ally McBeal or Harrison Ford's wife, whichever one you prefer. But that was quite a big deal for her. It was a really big part for her. And then her next role, and she's been working non-stop, her next role is this one. And this is 10 years later. She's a fantastic actress, but it took 10 years to get a really good big role, and it's called The Truth, and it's out next year. And that's, if you go back to Tom's experience when he said, well, what if nothing happens? Yasmin's great, and it took 10 years for something to happen. So he made the right decision, in my eyes anyway. Just as a sidebar, Yasmin auditioned, I don't know if you know Star Wars are casting at the moment, and they've got open auditions. If anyone's planning on going, go at 5 a.m. or you will never get seen. But Yasmin auditioned there last Saturday, I think it was, in Bristol, and she got a recall, so hopefully something will happen there. Now then, oh, there's Hattie, actually. You're in this picture. So this is just one of the groups, and the reason I'm showing this group is because I can't be specific about these little tales I'm going to tell you, otherwise I'll get sued. So I'm going to be very careful how I say these things. But I got a lot of young people roles in a big film, and I wasn't part of the negotiations for the money that the young people would get. And months after this was all done, I met with one of the parents and I said, so how was it? Did they pay you well for this? Was it all worth it? And she said, well, it was worth it in terms of experience, and you know, my kids are going to be up on the screen. But actually, the pay that we received didn't cover the petrol to get us back and forth from all of the different shooting locations. That's a big film. I can tell you... No. I can also tell you that I got a young lady a main role in a major channel, a new program on a major channel, and her pay was about the same as the receptionist gets paid at the local hotel up the road from me. Nothing wrong with being a receptionist, nothing wrong with having that pay. But if you're going to be an actor and you might not get a role straight after your other one, how can you survive on that wage? How can that be the only thing that you do? Another experience is a girl over the summer that I got, a role in a continuing drama, I think they're called now, or a soap. And she actually, despite negotiations, was getting paid less than extras get paid on other programs that I work on. So it's an industry, and it's got worse and it's got worse in terms of pay for the actors. It's an industry where you will find it very hard to survive. Now, if you want to be an actor or if you want to be a singer, then what I would say to you is, hopefully I'm getting the message across to these guys, that you can be a great actor, you can be, I'm going to talk over, a great singer, but you don't actually need to bank on getting in television programs or being on the X Factor or any of those things. You can be a great actor by learning, by going to classes, by making your own films. Lots of people are doing that nowadays, and there are lots of short film opportunities that you can grab hold of. If you're fighting to be famous, that's something that you cannot guarantee, and that should not be something that you give up everything for in terms of education. This is one of the other groups. I can tell you that because the workshop's been going for 30 years, there are now lots of ex-workshoppers. And the ex-workshoppers, most of them, like some of them are famous and they're getting on in the industry and they're doing really well. But the others, they all have these other jobs. There's an accountant, there's a teacher, there's a this, there's a that. But they still get together and they still act because that's what they do. So they've got their little foundation, whatever their job is, and they still take part in whatever opportunities come up. And that's the more sensible option for people to do. For example, they got together a little while ago, a few ex-workshoppers, and made a 60-second short film for the love of it with a company called Isis Media. Let's see if we can get that to work. Here we go.
Living, I tell people their loved ones died. People say they're expecting the worst. It's the not knowing they can't stand. They lie. Not knowing, still hoping, is preferable than me walking up your drive, facing condolence mode, to say words which will never be unsaid. Sometimes the news will come as a complete shock. He'd waved his wife off to work as normal. Her husband had been doing the shopping. They haven't yet noticed a teenager's absence. Often they ask if I'm joking. I don't believe it. I saw him this morning. He was fine. Well, madam, he's less fine now. Oh, what will I tell the children? That'll be less of a problem than you think. They're with him. I'm sitting outside a house. I see a woman in the front room. Her son's been stabbed, but she doesn't know it yet, so it isn't real. I give her a present. 1 minute. Her life not yet fatally fractured. She can shake her bum to the music. I get out of the car. Our eyes meet through the window. What's he done now? She mouths.
So that was just a 60-second short film that some ex-workshoppers got together and made, and it ended up winning the Bridport Film Festival. They're keeping their hand in, and one day maybe something will come along, just like it did for Yasmin, and they'll be able to go into a bigger career in acting. But they've got their foundation. They've got another job going on the way. Let's see if this video will work. Can I have this video without the sound, please? Thank you. So then we move on to First Act Workshops, which is where I work now, which is kind of the same thing as the television workshop. It creates opportunities for young people, but we think of it differently now. We plan differently. We make sure that young people are aware of the pitfalls, and we take other opportunities, not just the castings, although we do those, but we do different charity ventures. We do lots of different things. You might be thinking that I'm being quite negative here. I'm not. If you want to do this, absolutely go for it 100%. I'm not saying don't go to drama school. I'm saying you don't have to go to drama school. Ian McKellen didn't go to drama school. Or, if you're going to drama school, why not do a 3-year drama course at drama school, give the 4th year up to trying it out, try and get an agent, try and get in things, and if that year doesn't work, in your 5th year, do a PGCE and teach drama. Then you've got your backup plan for the rest of your life, and you can continue to try all those things for the rest of your life. Or, do 3 years in something else that excites you. Do accountancy, do carpentry, do anything, and then do a postgrad in drama. Suddenly, you have something that will support you all the way through. I don't tell these young people that just because you're talented, it's going to work for you, because I don't know that that's true. I don't tell them that if they work hard, they'll make it, because I don't think that's true. I think you have to be incredibly lucky to get somewhere in this industry, and the point of this talk today was to make you aware that you guys, some of you anyway, will be making choices that will be important for the rest of your life. I'm certainly not saying give up on your dreams. I'm saying make sure you have a foundation throughout your life where you can afford your house, your car, your food, afford to have children. If you can do that throughout your life, then you can pursue your dreams for the rest of your life. And that's the message I wanted to give you today. Thank you for listening. Any questions? Any questions? I'm happy to answer them, either now or in a few moments if you'd rather come up to me. Okay? Thank you, Hattie.